Good evening, December 9th, Westfield Washington School Boards of Trustees meeting is now in session. Thank you for joining us here this evening. We're glad to see so many people here. Since we have a quorum, please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. This is a part of the evening we look forward to the most, celebrating our Students of the Month. Before we begin, here are a few details about how this will proceed. David Dixon, with the camera, will be taking professional photos of each student as they receive their award. After all the students have been recognized, we'll pause for a brief intermission. During this time, Students of the Month and their families are invited to the lobby for refreshments. Mr. Dixon will also be available in the lobby to capture photos of the students with their families and the school representatives. And now we begin with the Virginia F. Wood Early Learning Center.
Hello and good evening. My name is Kaylee Dickin and I am assistant principal at the Early Learning Center. And this evening, I want to introduce you to John Cumberbatch. We are celebrating the guiding principle of perseverance. And I have with me Hannah Nair and Alexia Vanskyke and Cody Johnson to celebrate John. And they're going to share a little bit in English and in Spanish. So this is John's third year at the ELC. When he started with us, he knew no English and struggled with the length of the day. Now John is a leader in the classroom and loves every minute that he is there. John's teachers are with us tonight and they have a little bit to share about him.
So this is John's second year in All Aboard with Mr. Johnson and Miss Van Skyke, but his first in a co-teach room with myself and Mr. Johnson. He has grown so much since last year. He not only has come out of his bubble and shares his spunky, funny, loving personality with his teachers, but with his peers as well. He is a great friend to all of the students in the class, and he's even a great teacher, too. Joan has been working hard on learning English and has been teaching some to our class as well, and teaching the class Spanish as well. We are so happy to have Joan back here with us for a second year, and we will miss him so much when he moves on to kindergarten.
Now I'm going to attempt to do this in Spanish. Este es el segundo año de John en la clase All Aboard con el señor Johnson, aunque es su primero en un aula de coenseñanza o clase compartida con el señor Johnson y la señora Nair. John ha crecido muchísimo desde el año pasado. No solo ha salido de su caparazón y ahora comparte su personalidad alegre, divertida y cariñosa con sus maestros, sino que también lo hace con sus compañeros. John es un excelente amigo para todos y hasta es un gran maestro para ellos, enseñando y ayudando. Ha estado trabajando muy duro para aprender inglés. Y a cambio, él nos ha estado enseñando español a toda la clase. Estamos muy contentos de tener a John de vuelta con nosotros por un segundo año y lo echaremos mucho de menos cuando pase a kindergarten. Estamos muy contentos de tener a John de vuelta con nosotros por segundo año y lo extrañaremos mucho cuando pase al kindergarten. Felicidades, John, por ser el estudiante del mes.
Good job, right there.
Nice. Congratulations. Next up, Shamrock Springs.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Barker, and I have the pleasure of being the assistant principal at Shamrock Springs Elementary. And tonight we have the also pleasure of congratulating our student of the month, Kenna Gilbert. With us, we have Kenna's fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Katie Ray, who would like to share just a few things about Kenna.
Kenna Gilbert is an incredibly hard worker who never gives up, even when faced with a challenging task. She advocates for herself and stays determined until she finds the answer. Kenna is a great example of someone who shows grit. She consistently gives her best effort in everything she does. This strong work ethic is allowing her to have a very successful fourth grade year. Along with having a great work ethic, Kenna is a very kind student. She is a quiet leader who consistently exhibits positive behavior and sets a commendable example for her classmates. As a teacher, you can always count on her to be doing the right thing. Kenna is also a wonderful noticer. Her initiative and attentiveness to the needs of our classroom, such as organizing materials, picking up the room, and looking for ways to help out without being asked, demonstrate her strong sense of responsibility. These strengths not only contribute to her current success, but also lay a solid foundation for her future achievements. We are so proud and honored to recognize Kenna Gilbert as Shamrock Springs Student of the Month.
Congratulations. Next up, Washington Woods.
Good evening. My name is Libby Bod. I am the principal at Washington Woods Elementary, and I am here this evening with Tristan Price, one of our fourth graders, and two of his amazing teachers, Mrs. Tiedemann and Mrs. Westberg. And they both nominated him this evening because he has been working so hard. So, Tristan, I have a few things I'm going to read about you that they shared, okay? All right. This nomination does not come as a great surprise to those who have had the honor of teaching Tristan. He is the type of student that makes all of us so incredibly proud. Tristan has never given less than 100% the entire time we have known him. He comes to class ready to learn and meets any challenge head on. We appreciate his dedication and the fact that he does all of his things with a positive attitude. Tristan always has a smile on his face, and his positive energy is infectious. It has led him to being an amazing role model in the classroom and a great example of for anyone who sees him. We have no doubt that Tristan will continue to thrive the rest of the year and have a very bright future ahead of him. We're super proud of you, buddy. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Next up, Cary Ridge.
Hello, my name is Andy Hilton. I'm the principal at Cary Ridge Elementary, and this is Elliot Long, a third grader in Mrs. Tiger's class, and he is our student of the month. This is part of his team. The rest of them wish they could make it, but with other kid events, they couldn't. So normally we look at our different lifelines throughout each month, and maybe perseverance or hardworking or just whatever it is. But Elliot would hit them all, and as soon as we sent out the email that he was going to be student of the month, my just kept getting responses with people responding about how wonderful he is in all the different areas of the school. So his teacher, Mrs. Tiger, said, Elliot is a very creative and amazing artist. He has wonderful imagination and loves sharing his stories with the class. He is school ready and eager to explore and express his ideas. Elliot is also very kind, caring, and thoughtful, consistently setting a great example, good manners for his peers. We love having Elliot in our class, and he always comes to school in the cutest outfits. He truly looks like a gentleman. Mrs. Crodel said, Elliot has worked hard to get where he is and his natural ability to make others laugh. His love for Halloween and fun personality brighten the environment around him. And then Mrs. Coverdale for STEM said, Elliot's enthusiasm for learning in STEM class is contagious. He is a wonderful partner to work with. Congratulations for the recognition, Elliot. You deserve it. And there are a lot more that I will share with your family, but just help me congratulate Elliot for being our Student of the Month.
Congratulations. Next up, Maple Glen.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tiffany Buzan, and I am the principal at Maple Glen Elementary, and I am thrilled to introduce to you all tonight our Student of the Month, Aiden Dugar. So Aiden was nominated by not one teacher, but by 6. And one of the things that they shared during that nomination, they wanted me to know that he was nominated not just for one reason, but for 2. One, for his growth mindset and also his perseverance. So they all had some really great things to say about him and his teacher, Mrs. Meyer. And so one of the things that they wanted to share is that even when a task is challenging, Aiden always shows a willingness to try new things. Last year, he worked really hard on becoming more organized in Mrs. Kramer's classroom, and Mrs. Myers would like to share that he is consistently prepared and he supports not only himself but others in the classroom. He's highly motivated. He loves science and social studies. Mrs. Meyer also said he will talk with his friends, he will thoughtfully share, and he has lots of energy, not just in the classroom, but out at recess, where he plays soccer and scores lots of goals, and that is true. I have seen that. Aiden's related art teachers share that the most notable growth that they have seen is his growth mindset. He enters every class ready to learn, he listens to others, and he collaborates with his peers. Aiden, we are so glad to have you at Maple Glen, and we are so proud of you.
Congratulations. Next up, Monon Trail.
Good evening, everybody. I am Jeremy Marvel, the principal at Monon Trail, and this is Miss Natasha Hendricks, one of our first grade teachers there. And we are here to introduce our amazing first grader, Quinn Paddock, as our Student of the Month. And who best to tell all the amazing things about Quinn than his teacher who is with him all day, every day, Mrs. Hendricks.
Hello, thank you. So, as Mr. Marvel said, I'm a first grade teacher at Monon. When Mr. Marvel reached out and asked our team about nominating a first grader, there really was no hesitation on whom I would choose. But after discussing with my team to see who they were thinking for their own homerooms, they emphatically agreed that Quinn would be the most deserving choice. Quinn is such a joy to have in my classroom. Every day he follows our school and classroom expectations with sincerity and maturity beyond his years. He is a kind and gentle friend, always ready to lend a hand or share a smile with anyone who needs it. Academically, Quinn shines with his eagerness to learn and with natural curiosity. He engages wholeheartedly and gives positive and thoughtful responses that encourage and guide everyone's learning. Socially, he demonstrates wonderful sportsmanship, whether he's on the soccer field or playing a math game with peers. He's a quiet, confident leader who helps set the tone for others to follow with kindness and cooperation in our classroom. Quinn represents our Monon Rocks expectation so skillfully and with joy, and that is why I am so happy and proud to have him a part of our classroom family and here at Monon, and for him to be our Student of the Month.
Congratulations. Up next, Oak Trace.
Hi, everybody. I am Jane Hitch, the proud principal at Oak Trace, and I am so excited to introduce you to Mr. Remus George. Remus was nominated by several people. Everybody loves Remus, and he just really stands out at our school. If you look back to your kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Corbin, said that he was a leader way back in kindergarten. Ms. Hellman, his first grade teacher, talks about how he brought joy to the classroom. And then Mrs. Spangler, your second grade teacher, mentioned joy again, kind, helpful, and always excited to learn something. Mrs. Griggs, your music teacher, talked about how you're kind and respectful, and you set a great example to others. Mrs. Walker, our librarian, says, you're an amazing person. He's kind and selfless, and his smile, there it is, lights up the room. Mrs. Dankman wrote an anagram, so I won't read the whole thing, but basically Remus is reliable, encouraging, mentally sharp, understanding, and spectacular friend. So that's pretty great. And Mrs. Martin just went on and on and on. Mrs. Martin, his fourth grade teacher, by the way. Sorry about that, Mrs. Martin. He's the whole package. He's an amazing in many ways and well deserving of this honor. He's incredibly smart, catches on to new concepts quickly, and is incredibly responsible with his work. He's personable, kind, funny, and treats others with respect. And overall, he's an absolute joy to have in class. A lot of people said that it was a joy. Remus is pretty amazing, and I'm lucky to introduce him to you tonight. Let's give him a round of applause.
Congratulations. Up next, Westfield Intermediate School.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Annette Patchett. I'm the principal of Westfield Intermediate School, and I am excited to introduce to you this evening Ty. Ty is our Student of the Month, and both of his teachers came this evening, so I'm excited. Mrs. Lopez and Mr. Rubel joined us, and Mrs. Lopez was our nominator, so she has a lot of great things to say. Yes.
I'm thrilled to nominate Ty for Student of the Month. Ty is an exceptional student who demonstrates what it truly means to be hardworking, respectful, and kind every single day. He approaches every task with effort and dedication, always striving to do his best. But what makes him truly special is how he treats the people around him and his classmates. I interviewed his classmates, and they had so many wonderful things to say about him. They said Ty always helps out, takes time to tell others that they're doing a good job. They notice that he includes everyone, making sure that no one feels left out. They described him as thoughtful, someone who listens, and he is a good friend who always is there when you need him. They said he supports the things that we do, and he encourages us to try our best. So in addition to those things, Ty's a leader in our classroom through his actions. He's always participating in discussion. He works hard on every assignment and shows integrity in everything that he does. He balances being responsible and dedicated with being fun and personable, creating a classroom environment where everyone feels welcomed and valued. Ty sets a positive example for his peers without even trying. He quietly encourages, helps, and uplifts those around him, and his efforts don't go unnoticed, whether it's helping a classmate understand a tricky problem, cheering someone on, or simply being there to listen.
Ty consistently demonstrates kindness, respect, and thoughtfulness. So it's a true honor to be Ty's teacher and watch him make a difference in our classroom every day. For all those reasons, we are so proud to recognize him as our Student of the Month.
Congratulations. Up next, Westfield Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stacy Swan. I'm the principal at Westfield Middle School, and I have with me Lauren Smith, one of our teachers, and we're here to recognize Favi Gill as our Student of the Month. And I'm very excited to introduce her to you. And she moved to Westfield just before her 7th grade year, and so quickly she made such a positive impact on her classmates. When I went into her class to kind of talk about Favi and ask their classmates what makes her so special, they were very eager to tell me all the things that were so great about Favi. And if you know anything about middle schoolers, they're always honest. And they were honest about her being a great friend, a hard worker, and just a helper to everyone. So I'm going to read a few other comments that teachers have made about you, Favi, and then I'm going to let Mrs. Smith tell for herself why you're so great, okay? So this is from Mrs. Kitka, science teacher. Favi is an exceptional student who consistently challenges herself to excel. She approaches every lesson with determination, working diligently to overcome language barriers and fully engage with her learning. Her hard work is matched by her creativity. When given the opportunity, she expresses herself through thoughtful writing and beautiful artwork. Favi's perseverance, talent, and positive spirit make her a truly deserving Student of the Month. Mrs. Birch, math teacher, says, "We love having Favi on the Green Hornets team. She is highly motivated to excel in all aspects. She works hard to master material and consistently seeks to reach higher levels of understanding. I am so proud of her progress in math, and I can't wait to see how she progresses as a mathematician." And finally, Mr. Rivera, language arts teacher, says, "Favi exemplifies everything we strive for in our WMS students. She consistently demonstrates compassion, honesty, hard work, responsibility, and respect. She never lets language challenges discourage her. Instead, she rises to meet them with determination and strong work ethic. Favi is a positive role model for all of our Green Hornets students, and we are excited to watch her grow and excel through the year."
All right, I'm going to steal this paper so I can read what I wrote because I don't want to miss any of the reasons you're amazing, Favi. In Favi's year and a half here, she's consistently been spectacular. She's an author, writing amazing stories in language arts class and just for fun on the side. She's a scholar, growing so much on her I Learn Math checkpoint. She's a musician, practicing her flute for our middle school band. She's an artist, creating beautiful drawings. When they were tasked with drawing the water cycle for science class, Favi created a beautiful watercolor painting of the water cycle because she's just that incredible. Outside the classroom, she's a gold medal Taekwondo athlete, proving her determination doesn't stop at the school doors, all while learning English and continually making friends across languages and cultures. Today I watched her walk down the hallway with one friend who speaks Spanish, one who speaks Arabic, and one who speaks English, and they were all having a great time together. Despite challenges outside of school, Favi continues to shine with brilliance, creativity, and an incredible work ethic. She embodies Rocks Ready every single day.
Congratulations, Favi.
Congratulations. Up next, Westfield High School.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Denniston. I am principal at Westfield High School, and I am very excited to introduce you to Carson Davis. And he is a senior for us, and he is our Student of the Month. He had multiple nominations from many staff members with wonderful things to say, and he also has caught my eye over the years. And when I try to think of our big school, I really look for that student who is not only achieving in the classroom, but also just exhibits that strong character and work ethic, but then most importantly is just having amazing influence on his peers. And also staff members have told me, you know, Carson brings out the best in me, which I think is an amazing testament to what you can do. So I wanted to share, because he's a senior and we're going to be sad to see him go, but I'm excited about what the future holds. I asked him, okay, what are your top few choices? He's still making a decision. Probably got to happen soon, but you've got some choices here. He's looking at Ball State, Purdue, Indy, or Virginia Tech, and looking at the field of construction management, looking at business administration as well. And your construction teacher had a lot of fine things to say, by the way. But he's also been very involved as a leader at Westfield High School, and most prominently in our band, in our very successful band program. Has been a part of Westfield Winds for 5 years, and then our marching band, the Pride of Westfield, for 4 years. And I love what he said about kind of what he's most proud of at his time here. He says, I'm most proud of the community that has grown over the 4 years of being here. Being a freshman and having an accepting environment really helps being a good student who can then influence the younger students once they grow into this community. And that's what many have said, that you're shepherding our underclassmen, and that warms my heart as a principal. So here's just a couple highlights of what staff has said. I know I'm just going on, but here's just a couple more highlights. So our band director, Mr. Muth, who is letting you hear tonight, a little bit of time out of practice tonight, so thank you to Mr. Muth, says the last 5 years I've had the pleasure of having Carson Davis as part of the Westfield Band program. During that time, Carson has grown into a wonderful student mentor and leader. His passion is infectious and inspires others to reach their full potential. He is always willing to receive feedback and is always, this is my favorite part, always the hardest worker in the room. And then kind of Mr. Sparks, Director Sparks also, described you as passionate, dedicated, constantly advocating for others, even if they would not do the same for him. So that's awesome. You're always setting the good example. He says, at his core, he has a truly good heart, which is rare in this day and age. And I know that whatever his future endeavors may be, Carson will excel at them. And then lastly, Mr. Hemmerling made a point to tell me I have to say some things about this fine young man. And he's had you in class for 3 years, says you're wonderful to work with. And he says, I love how he takes my instruction and immediately jumps into action to apply his new learned knowledge. Then he takes that knowledge to go above and beyond. He has an inquisitive nature, which challenges me to stretch my own knowledge. I have so enjoyed having him in class. So I am really appreciative to you, Carson, of just the wonderful example you've been, and proud of how you've grown, and I'm glad I get a few more months with you. I have written a little something in a journal and a book for you, which we'll do. But at this time, if you'll just give him a round of applause, congratulations to Carson.
Congratulations. Congratulations to all of our December Students of the Month. At this time, students and their families are invited to the lobby for refreshments and photos. We will resume the business portion of the meeting at 7:15. Okay, we'll start the business portion of the meeting. There are no comment cards or nobody wanting to speak. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Consent items include board minutes, accounts, payroll, personnel, and overnight and out-of-state field trips. All items in the consent agenda have been reviewed by the board in advance of the meeting and approved in a single motion. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved in second. Is there any discussion or any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion is passed. Dr. Baldwin, I believe you have an announcement to make?
I do. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. As approved in personnel this evening, we are excited to announce and introduce to all of you Mr. Scott Chambers as the new principal at Cary Ridge Elementary School. So congratulations to Scott Chambers. As Scott comes up here, Scott comes to us with 27 total years in education, 22 years as a principal. Very excited to have him as only the third principal at Cary Ridge Elementary School after Susan Hobson and Andy Hilton. So all yours, Scott. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Baldwin. First, if you don't mind, I'd like to do some introductions. I have my wife, Betsy, who is a kindergarten teacher in Avon. It's her birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Perfect way to spend it. We're not doing anything else. It's all about me, right? No, not at all. Also have my two daughters with me, Ella, who is a sophomore at Purdue, Emma and her husband, Sam, last name Shockley, also join us, and very proud of my family, and I'm thankful that they're here with us tonight. Really, thank you. Just want to thank the board and Dr. Atha for trusting and believing that I'm the right fit for Westfield, and I am immensely excited to join Cary Ridge and follow Andy. I had an opportunity to spend some time with Andy and the staff today, and immediately felt comfortable, excited, and at ease. And I'm looking forward to February start, and cannot wait to get that going. So just want to thank you again for allowing me this opportunity. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yep, congratulations.
I do want to, Scott, I do want to welcome Scott. And just, we had a candidate pool of over 30 applicants, and we use a group interview process. And so I want to thank about 26 people participated last week. Most of those were teachers and staff from Cary Ridge and parents. But just a few words to summarize Scott's strength in that feedback. Number one is authentic. Number two, family. Three, he knows the PLC process and experience. And as they gave us feedback and we debriefed, it just seemed those words align with a lot of what we hear at Cary Ridge now. So it seemed like a great fit. And so we're grateful that Scott wants to be a part of the Shamrock family, and we welcome him.
The next item on the agenda is for the board to hold a project and preliminary hearing on the proposed construction projects. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure you have signed in the sheet, which should include your name and address. After the presentation by the administration and its advisors, there will be an opportunity for public to make comments about the projects. At this specific hearing, we will ask that each person limit the comments to 2 minutes, and that the topics be limited to the proposed projects under consideration. The notice of this preliminary determination hearing was published as legally required. Our first hearing was held at the boardroom at 6 p.m. on December 2nd, 2025. At this time, I ask Dr. Greg Hunt to explain the purpose of this hearing.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Indiana Code 20-26-7-37, before a school corporation may spend more than $1 million to build, repair, or alter a school building that will be financed by lease or bonds, it must hold a public hearing at which explanation of the potential value of the project to the school corporation and community are given. Similarly, pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-20-3.5, a school corporation must hold 2 public hearings and adopt a resolution to preliminary determine to issue bonds or enter into a lease for a project which has a project cost in excess of a certain thresholds. These public hearings and the consideration of resolutions represent the beginning of the multi-year legal process. The resolutions presented at this meeting establish the maximum financial terms for the proposed projects.
Thank you. We will now hear from Dr. Atha and Dr. Hunt again about the process of determining and communicating the projects to the community and the need for the projects.
Thank you, Mr. Steele, members of the board. And so as we discussed last week, as we look at our community, and the city of Westfield is finalizing their comprehensive land use plan, and we reviewed our demographic information and historical enrollment information. I think we believe that we need a strategic facilities master plan, a 10 to 15 year master plan that fits in the current legislative process, and also gives this board and future boards and administrations the authorization they need to meet the needs of a growing school district. And so tonight, Brent Height from CSO will outline at a very high level, because this is not the details of each project. This is the overall master plan in it. And then Matt Shoemaker from Stiefel will talk a little bit about the required finances. But it authorizes the board, but it does not obligate the board. If there was a project that we're going to move forward with in this master plan, we would still go through the details of that project, and then our financial and legal partners would come back and talk about the bond sale and so forth. So this is a high-level master plan that gives the board flexibility to meet the needs of a growing school district, and also in a state where we've had some legislative changes that impact how we plan long-term. So with that, I don't know if Dr. Hunt has anything to add. I think we can ask Brent Height, our architect, and our partners at CSO to go through his presentation.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here again to go through the Comprehensive Facility Master Plan. I'm going to do my best to be as consistent as I was with the presentation last week, so that there's no variation there, but bear with me if there's anything that I say that's a little different. So as Dr. Atha mentioned, as we looked at this plan, we wanted to come at an approach where we looked and used the current demographic study that was recently provided by McKibbins, and project that out to see what the enrollment growth was going to be, and what that meant for facilities and capacities, as well as maybe look at a more worst case scenario to say that, hey, we've been growing 3 to 4% per year historically, and if we anticipate that to continue, what does that mean? And that projects enrollment to be higher than what McKibbin's study does show today. And so we kind of use those as two kind of using McKibbin's as kind of the low end, and then the historical enrollment as the high end, to kind of help us shape this plan. So the first slide we're going to show here is the facility and needs based off McKibbin's demographic study. As we look at the right side of this slide, you can see the different grade level alignments, K5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. For K5, McKibbin's is projecting enrollment to max out at just over 5,000 students by 2030, and then it actually tapers down and just kind of holds steady. For grades 6 through 8, they're projecting Westfield to grow to about 2,800 students in 6th through 8th grade, and that maxes out at 2033, and then kind of does the same thing as the elementaries. It kind of peaks and then comes down a little bit and then holds steady. And then for 9 through 12, they're projecting that those grades to grow to about 3,900 by 2035. If you look at the right column there where it says capacity, That is the projected or calculated capacity of the current buildings and a little bit of the future buildings. So essentially as 2027, when Westfield Middle School West comes online and the new elementaries are all functional, those are the projected capacities of all of our buildings. So based off McKibben's projections for K-5 growing to just over 5,000 students and a calculated capacity of 5,500 students, based off those numbers, we're saying we don't really need any additional classroom space to serve elementary students in this model. Grades 6 through 8 project to go to 2,800, and we have space for 3,000 between the two middle schools. So we're okay there as well. And then looking at the high school, the 3,900 does exceed our capacity at 3,400. So there's going to be an enrollment need to create additional classroom space at the high school. So using that information, we started to project what capital projects or investments would be needed. And that's the table to your left on this slide. So starting at the elementary level, while we just illustrated there is no enrollment need for additional capacity in this model, we do know that by moving 5th grade from the intermediate school back to the elementaries, that all of the existing elementaries were not designed to facilitate that type of programming. So we're allocating dollars to go back and renovate those buildings to bring 5th grade into them, as well as bring some equity to the newest elementaries that have collaborative learning spaces, small group breakout spaces, et cetera. So those dollars are all being allocated there. And then the sequence of those is very intentional. So the first two you see up there are Oak Trace and Washington Woods. The testament to Cary Ridge having its 3rd principal, it is your oldest elementary now that Shamrock Springs is getting replaced. But Cary Ridge received some updates a few years ago when we added the Crosscat addition. So we went in and we renovated bathrooms and a few other mechanical items while we were there, and some site infrastructure, playgrounds. So it's being bumped down a little bit as Oak Trace and Washington Woods are going to be those that have the biggest facility needs in terms of some of the mechanical equipment's reaching the end of its life, where finishes are starting to need to be replaced. So we're trying to time those renovations with the age of the building so that we're addressing those appropriately. And then you'll see throughout this table, there's an opening date and then a projected start date. So basically saying if we want this building to be open by this point, we need to start design by this point to give us time to get the design done, documents bid, construction complete, and then it's ready. So we're pairing those Oak Trace and Washington Woods first, then Maple Glen and Monon Trail, and then Cary Ridge to follow that. There is one other thing I'll note about the community rooms for Maple Glen and Monon Trail. There's a separate line item for those later that I'll discuss. When we go to the middle school, again, we just talked about the enrollment numbers for grades 6 through 8 not requiring any additional capacity. The plan right now is to have 1,500 students at Middle School West and 1,500 students at Middle School East. However, with the growth at the high school level, we have illustrated that needed capacity increase. The thought at this time is that the high school will grow into and capture the current Middle School East campus. So we're going to, and what we plan for here is a new Middle School East on a new piece of property, replicating the design of Middle School West. And then once that building is complete, the high school will take over the current middle school campus to add capacity and program needs for the high school in the future. So that's our middle school cost and project summary there. Then we look at the high school. So the first line item there you see is interior renovations. That's really a maintenance project that we're talking about. It's going back and touching classrooms that from the 2017-2018 renovation and addition that we did never got touched, so there's still original finishes, bathrooms that need to be updated, there's some mechanical equipment that needs to be replaced, there's some roofing that needs to be done. So that's kind of a maintenance project that because we hit pause on this Destination Phase 2 projects in progress, that those really need to be addressed kind of out the gate and get done. So we're kind of saying, hey, this is first priority, and then we'll look at what's coming next. So the second line item you see there is a classroom addition. So based on the timeline for the replacement of Middle School East, the earliest we will be able to procure land, build that facility is likely opening in 2030. So as you can see from the enrollment projections, the high school is going to be over capacity by 2029. So right now what we're showing is an addition on the high school to include maybe 20 or so additional classrooms to account or kind of bridge that gap till we get that middle school campus online. We have discussed internally about maybe there's a temporary solution, whether through portables or some other means, or maybe there's a possibility to use part of the middle school while we're in that transition. So we're going to explore that opportunity as we keep going forward. But again, we want to plan for the worst case scenario. So we've allocated about $37 million for a classroom academic addition there to help kind of bridge that gap in the enrollment growth at the high school. Any questions on kind of this model before I continue forward and talk about the historical enrollment model? Okay. All right, so then looking at a historical enrollment perspective, we went back and tracked your enrollment through IDOE numbers and showed that whether grades K-5, 6, 8, and 9, 12 all grow somewhere between 3 and 4% annually. So that's a much higher projection than what McKibben kind of developed. So this is what I would call maybe more of a worst case scenario or a high standard of growth. And so what you're seeing here for the table on your right, that same kind of layout there. We've got the grade level K-5, and then max enrollment with this model will grow to 6,700 students, almost 6,800 students. And obviously our capacity is 5,500, so there you start to see the need of an additional elementary school. In grade 6, 8 in this model, we're growing to 3,400, so we're exceeding that 3,000 student capacity we have at middle schools. And then 9, 12 grows to just under 4,500 students, so again, exceeding that 3,400 number. However, now that we look at the projects on the left, we've maintained all of the projects in the original McKibben study, but we've added those additional enrollment projects. So the only difference as you look at the elementary projects is the need for elementary number 9. So we'll need to be able to bring that online by 2033. So we'll need to start planning for that by 2030 and get that project off the ground. In addition to that, we also have middle school number 3. So we'll still be replacing the current middle school east with a new middle school, and then we'll be building the 3rd middle school to accommodate that growth. And then at the high school, that one is unchanged because of the capacity increase that's gained by getting that middle school campus. Even with these projected increased numbers, that campus still serves the needs that we are projecting in this model. So there's no change in terms of needing additional classroom space there. There is a future line item in both of these models in the kind of the non-enrollment projects that I'm going to talk about here in just a second to renovate that middle school for the purposes of becoming part of the high school of whatever as we develop that program with the high school team. The last thing I'll note on here is elementary number 10 is not on this list. We would like, based off of the numbers projecting in this, that likely is going to be needed by fall of 2036, fall of 2037. So we would start designing and planning for that kind of the tail end of this 10-year model. So while it's not shown here in the numbers, we're just being aware of when that next elementary would come online. Other capital needs. So I've mentioned a couple of these. We want to be cognizant that as a district there are other facility needs besides enrollment. We've got programs, athletics, performing arts that are going to need continued enhancements or just maintenance. We're going to have to acquire some land for some of these facilities. We've had some donated and some developers kind of dedicate land, so that's helpful, but we may need additional space outside of what's been planned for thus far. And then we also may have some displacement. Well, we will have some displacement, especially on the high school campus, as we start to plan for expanding that building, additional parking, and the other detention and other resources on that site. We're likely going to displace some of the athletics and have to move some things around. So we want to make sure we have dollars allocated to that. So on the right, you'll kind of see the list of these projects that we've developed to date. The first one I mentioned earlier, the Maple Glen and Monon Trail community rooms. So we're trying to do that a little bit sooner than maybe instead of tying it into their renovations, and that's intentional so that we can get those complete before the building renovations happen. That allows us to use that extra square footage as kind of swing space during the renovations of those buildings. So we might be able to move classrooms into that space while we renovate classrooms in the building. So it just adds us some flexibility to get through construction. The next item there is the track replacement at the high school. We just did the turf this last year, so the track is kind of the next item. It's towards the end of its life, and so we're waiting to replace that, planning on that next year. And the reason that we're not doing that this year, which was what we kind of originally had slated out, was because it'll allow us to bring the new middle school west track online before we take the high school track offline. So it buys us a little more time to get construction completed for that facility without interrupting track or football season. The Westfield High School locker room and performing arts multipurpose, that's one of the phase 2 projects that was put on pause in this last year or so. And so we're being cognizant that that project is still a need and still something that needs to happen. I think it's going to look a little different than maybe it did originally, but we're carrying those dollars for that space. The Monon Athletic Complex improvements is this facility here. We just opened new fields on this campus this year, but as we talk about transitioning more space needs at the high school, we think some additional investment is likely required here, maybe turf another field, some additional parking, maybe some changing rooms for students, in order to either A, continue to enhance this into a high school athletic complex, or B, kind of, again, bridge the gap of let's move high school athletics here until we find a permanent home for all of those high school athletic fields. The next item there, Performing Arts Center and Band Room. So that's, again, part of the Phase 2 projects to expand the auditorium, as well as create a new band room for their growing program. So we wanted to make sure we had that allocated. A new competition gymnasium was something that came up as we met with the high school staff and athletics. The current gymnasium capacity is about 2,200, I believe. So as we think of it, we're going to be a school of 4,500, we start to probably see a higher need of capacity in that space. So we wanted to allocate some dollars there. And then the last item there you'll see is the renovation of the existing middle school. So that's for conversion of that middle school into the high school use. The plan for that at this point is to let the high school kind of grab onto that space, move into that space, figure out what programs may fit in there and work there, and then do some renovations to accommodate that. That way we're doing informed decisions rather than trying to guess or project at what they might be wanting to do. So that list is about $215 million in total. And those are, as you'll see in the timeline, these are more subjective on their time frame because they're not being driven by enrollment needs, they're being driven by enhancing programs. And so we can slide these as dollars are available, or as if enrollment increases, we can move it around. So here's that timeline. So this is just tracking the enrollment growth cost over 10 years. So on the left side, all of the projects that we just talked about, and this is based off the historical enrollment growth, so what we're calling the worst case scenario. We've listed all of the enrollment projects that need to occur over the next 10 years and their dollar amounts. And then they kind of track across, the years are across the top, and so you see the different design and construction phases as well as occupancy. And what that allows us to do is track the cost across those years and come to a total bonding cost for each fiscal year that allows Greg and his team to help plan how are we going to pay for this if this is the model we're going to do. So as I mentioned, if we find out, for example, that enrollment is slower than this projection, elementary number 9 can start to slide down, and that may make space for one of the non-enrollment projects to move up in timeline. So that gives us kind of the triggers to watch and monitor, so when these things need to happen. But we've got the timelines and the durations and everything tracked out and the financial piece approved through this 1028 to know, hey, we can go ahead and start executing and we're ready. So the next slide here is then putting those non-enrollment capital needs that we just went through on this same kind of table. So we add all of those on the bottom line. So the total enrollment cost projected over 10 years right now is just under $700 million, and then those additional capital needs about $215. So we're totaling about just over $900 million over the next 10 to 15 years. But again, building in that flexibility to be able to slide things around based on funding, legislative changes, enrollment increases or decreases, and being able to monitor all that. But we feel very confident kind of long term that we've got everything identified that the next 10 years is really going to ask us for, as best we can predict the future. I think that is everything. If I've missed something, John or Greg, feel free to let me know.
I think I just want to note, as in our 4 existing elementaries, we use that kind of strategic, let's get 5th grade into those spaces, let them live with it before we try to design something that might not work, right? Like right. We get a lot of great feedback from our elementary teachers in the design of our new schools and the remodel of the current intermediate school about what they needed today. And so as we move in 5th grade into that space, that will be a priority, especially at Washington Woods and Oak Trace, which are our two, besides Cary Ridge, our next two oldest original elementaries, if you will, of that design.
Right.
So I just wanted to note where what you said for the middle school as the high school takes over is kind of what we've already said we were doing with the elementaries.
Any other questions? And these dollars that you're talking about today are projected with inflation in place and everything else.
That's right. So we used basically cost today of what we think those facilities cost, or for example, for the middle school west, the project cost that is for that project, and then said, okay, it's going to bid this year, and inflated the cost forward to the year that it's going to bid, so that we're accounting for that increased number that we anticipate it being. Hopefully, you know, inflation just stops and it's not a problem anymore, but we want to be conservative.
Very good. Yep. Next, appreciate it, Brent. Next, we'd like to hear from Matt Shoemaker from Stifel, our bond underwriter.
Good evening. Thank you for having me again. So I will go over the financial parameters that we discussed last week at the hearing. So starting at the top, the par amount of the bonds listed at $950 million. This is a not to exceed number, does not obligate you to borrow all of the $950 million, simply setting a maximum. Estimated capitalized interest, cost of issuance, and underwriter's discount. This would be upfront fees. Is listed at $43,317,100. That would leave estimated proceeds available for the hard and soft costs of the $906,682,900 that Brent just spoke about. Estimated interest expense is listed at $870,801,400. That is based on the full $950 million at a 7% interest rate. Again, these are maximums. We don't expect the borrowing amount or the borrowing interest rate to be 7%, but we are talking about a long period of time, so we need to build some conservatism in that number. Maximum annual lease rental is listed at $100 million. Estimated maximum tax rate impact is $1.40. As we talked about last week, we do not expect the tax rate to go up by $1.40. This is simply a formula that takes that estimated maximum annual lease rental of $100 million, divides it by your current net assessed value. We don't expect you to reach the full $100 million of max annual lease rental, and we certainly expect your net assessed value to continue to grow. You guys have averaged about 13% growth annually over the past 6 or 7 years, which is one of the better ones in the state. So again, the $1.40 is kind of a snapshot in time as of now. In terms of the impact to the taxpayer, we know that about 73% of the taxpayers in this community are already at their tax caps. Because of the legal process that the school is going through, anyone that is already at their tax cap should not see a significant impact because of this project. The last two pieces of information that we need to list: school corporation's max annual payments as a percent of your net assessed value, that is listed at 2.19%. And then the direct and overlapping debt as a percent of your net assessed value is listed at 24.96%. As a point of reference, I did bring the legal parameters from the original Destination Westfield project that would have been approved back in 2023. I went over this last week, but I thought it would be good if there are any fresh ears tonight to talk through this as well. Back in 2023, we showed financial parameters, cost of issuance, underwriter's discount, and capitalized interest. We listed that $27.5 million. The ultimate number came in just under $11.5 million. We listed the estimated maximum interest rate at 7%. This was sold in two separate bond issues. One was at a 3.53%. The other was at a 3.86%. The estimated total interest cost came in about 20% less than what was advertised and put in those legal parameters. The max annual lease payment of that project was listed at $60 million and came in just under $44 million. And then the maximum tax rate impact, again, based on that formula, was listed at $1.05. Based on the final payments, came in at 61.5 cents. So again, no guarantees that this project will come in way under. It's just simply a point of reference since we just finished up those projects that I thought would be useful for the public to hear. So with that, happy to answer any questions on the finances from the board.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now open it up to the public hearing. Any comments? No cards. Sign the sheet. Dr. Hunt, could you please summarize the project resolution?
Thank you, President Steele. Yes, the project resolution is required when a school corporation is planning to spend more than $1 million on a given facility or type of work. It contains the estimated hard and soft construction cost and the cost of issuance and establishes the total project cost. It also contains the estimated tax impact. So the items, obviously, that Mr. Shoemaker had went over that's associated with this particular project resolution.
I also, I want to know, and Matt mentioned a date, so I was, reflecting. We did a Destination Westfield kickoff on May 26, 2023, which was phase one, which we're still in the process of. Hopefully we'll bring that round to completion, and we have a phase two as well that's in progress. So this is really phase three in that strategy. But in that reflection, I was thinking about all the legislative changes that have happened since we did that kickoff, right? And we built the whole strategy around the 80 cents, and now it's the 70 cents. And now Senate Enrolled Act 1 is in place, and we're still trying to unpack some of that. So the need for this, the stability for this board and future boards is really important in that changing, if you will, climate of the legislators and still trying to figure out that. So this, we believe, not only sets the district up, but also our taxpayers for success as we, I want, I talk about this all the time, we not only embrace our growth because it's managed growth, we need our growth in this community because people like to live here. And so they have kids when they move here, but they stay here and they age out and they stay in their homes. And so if we don't have 500 to 600 new homes a year coming online, our enrollment will actually go down, and that would be catastrophic for our school district. So we like this approach, this growing approach, and as I just want to mention, the last thing is this board is having a joint meeting with the City Council on January 7th, where our demographer will come and talk a little bit about that growth. But we're trying to get out in front of that and be good stewards, not only of our resources, but to our community members as well. So that's the reason for this plan, this comprehensive facility plan. We know we're going to need it. It's just giving you the flexibility to decide when we need those different components.
Very good. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the project resolution 2527 as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. It has been moved and second to approve the project resolution 2025-27. Any discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion has passed. Dr. Hunt, could you please summarize the preliminary determination resolution?
Again, a preliminary determination resolution is required when a school corporation is planning to finance more than a certain threshold for a given project. It contains the total project cost, maximum annual payment and lease term, and other financial terms such as the established principal amount and tax impact. And going back to what Dr. Athan has mentioned This is an approval, it's not an obligation, but it gives us the flexibility, but it outlines the maximum parameters of the project. So at this time, I ask that it would be approved.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the preliminary determination resolution of 2025-28 as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved in second to approve the determination resolution of 2025-28. Any discussions?
I'll just summarize my understanding from our discussions today and earlier is that this allows us the flexibility to press the accelerator depending on our growth, if it's faster than what we expected, or back off the accelerator of building and expanding if our enrollment doesn't expand as quickly as we thought it might. So this simply gives us options.
I would also add that that is absolutely correct. I would also add that looking out in the audience and seeing some of our teachers, especially from performing arts and so forth, that some of those non-enrollment items that we've had to say, oh, hold off as we've grown, it gives us a strategic approach to making sure we wrap those in and do that in conjunction with the growth so that we don't find ourselves, and I think some might think we're a little behind, but we can catch up because we owe it to our students to provide those facilities for them to be able to perform, compete, whatever that activity may be as we continue to grow. And so there's that component that's really important that sometimes when you're trying to just address the growth that gets put on the back burner. So that allows us to make that a priority when financially we can do it.
Any other discussions?
I think it might also be helpful for the audience to realize that these various resolutions, 27, 28, and 29, are addressing the different components of this that must be acknowledged and approved: the max lease, the tax rate, and then the total value of the project and/or bonds that Stiefel just presented. So it seems redundant, but each resolution is addressing one of those separate items. If you had the documents in front of you, it'd seem a lot more easy, maybe. So just thought I'd share that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is passed. Dr. Hunt, could you please summarize the reimbursement resolution?
I certainly can, and this is the last of the resolutions, which is 2025-29, which is a reimbursement resolution relating to the financing of the construction project. This resolution permits the school corporation to reimburse itself from bond proceeds for any cash in which it might spend on the project prior to the closing of the bond. So there are times in which we have to front some cost. This allows us the ability as a school district in which to reimburse ourselves from those bond proceeds. So it is required by federal tax law in order to preserve the school corporation ability to reimburse itself. So at this time, I ask that the board approve Resolution 2025-29, the declaration of official intent to reimburse expenditures as presented.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-2029 as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
It has been moved and second to approve the resolution as presented. Any discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is passed. There being no further business on the project hearing and second preliminary determination hearing, the hearing is adjourned. The next item on the agenda for the board is to hold an additional appropriation hearing. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please sign in the sheet next to Stacy Pratt after an explanation of the need of additional appropriations by the administration. There will be an opportunity for the public to make comments. Is that where I'm at?
Yeah.
At this specific hearing, we will ask each person to limit their comments to 2 minutes, and that the topic be limited to the proposed resolution under consideration. The notice of this additional appropriation hearing was published as legally required. At this time, I will ask Dr. Greg Hunt to explain the purpose of this hearing.
Thank you again, President Steele. This evening before you, and this part of this hearing is for additional appropriations. And just as an overview, what an appropriation is, this is for the public. Appropriation is the legal authority in which to spend. So when we have passed our budgets, so this budget would be for 2025, that is submitted to the Department of Local Government Finance. And upon that, they review it and then they certify the budget. Due to the growth that we have had here in the district, so our ADM has increased, so has our revenue. So this evening, part of this hearing is, again, asking for additional appropriations. And so the statutory requirements are by Indiana Code 6-1.1-18-5 outlines the steps required for the additional appropriation, which is part of your board packet, which is a public notice. That public notice was published twice in the local newspapers for the public hearing. And then it brings us to this evening, which is the public hearing. Upon approval of the resolution over those additional appropriations, there would be a submission to the Department of Local Government Finance for their review and response. Upon that, then we would be able to then expend above what was certified as far as the budget is concerned. So also to bring to the board's attention, when the budget was originally approved, it was reduced by over $4 million of what the actual budget was submitted to the Department of Local Government Finance. Again, there has to be funding that is that supports the budget that is approved. And again, through our growth, that obviously increase of revenue has occurred and has happened. And so at this point, we're just asking for those additional appropriations to be approved this evening. So again, that gives us the legal authority in which to expend above that certified budget.
Thank you, Dr. Hunt. Again, we'll stay with you to learn more about the need for the additional appropriations. And
like I had mentioned, the the need for the additional appropriations is, again, we've come to the opportunity in which the growth of our district, which increases obviously the staff that we have, and through the additional staff, that increases the expenditures. And again, we need to increase our appropriations due to, again, the reduction of the initial budget. Now, again, we're not asking this evening for additional funding. That's not what this hearing is about. We have the funding to support it. We just need the additional appropriations, and again, in which to expend to close out the 2025 budget year. And so this evening, the proposed additional appropriations are broken down as accordingly. Regular programs would be $2,500,000. Special programs, $2,500,000, and special services, $1,750,000, for a total of $6,750,000 of additional appropriations.
very good. We will now open it to the public hearing. We will now open the public hearing. Do we have any? So I can go on. The hearing is now closed. Dr. Hunt, could you please summarize the resolution 2025-2026 additional appropriations?
Okay, the proposed additional appropriations resolution 2025-26. Again, like I had mentioned prior, the total additional appropriations $6,750,000. Again, the breakdown of those: regular programs $2,500,000, special programs $2,500,000, and special services $1,750,000. And also to make note that this is for the education fund only. It does not affect any of the other funds. It's strictly the education fund. So at this time, the administration recommends that the school board of school trustees approve the additional appropriation resolution for the education fund in the amount of $6,750,000 as advertised and presented.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the additional appropriation resolution 2025-26 for the education fund in the total amount of $6,750,000 as advertised and presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and second to approve the resolution as presented. Any discussions? Any questions?
Just appreciate the extra effort to coordinate this with the state.
I also want to take the opportunity to thank Marcia Bohannon, who is our treasurer, who does extensive work. So this is a kudos to Marcia and all of her efforts.
Absolutely.
And so, yes.
All right. Hearing none, no other further discussions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are opposed? The motion is passed.
Thank you.
Hang on just a, any of our partners that have already presented that want to head out, you're free to go, or you can stay. I'm not making you go, but certainly you're free to go. You have families and you spend a lot of time with us, so don't feel bad if you stand up and walk out.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Yes.
It has been very much appreciated.
See you soon.
There being no further business in the additional appropriation hearing, the hearing is adjourned. We will now return to a regular meeting. Each month, we look forward to receiving updates from our constituents, partners, and progress on projects throughout the district. This evening, we are pleased to welcome two of the construction managers who will be sharing the latest information on several Destination Westfield projects currently underway. We will begin with the update from Mike from the Hagerman Group.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Atha, Dr. Hunt, Dr. Baldwin. Stacy, thank you for helping us put this together. Brent Height. So here we go. Are we doing the video first? Yeah. Okay, so we have a drone video. This is November 19th, so it's a few days old. We were successful in getting part of that east-west driveway on the right. The binder put down, the curbs put in. We have, before this weather turned cold, we had good progress on the site, still putting in Brian's geothermal wells and the mechanical engineers and all of the exterior skin, the brick, the stone, a lot of the roofing, a lot of pre-planning still. You can see some of those well drilling rigs. I think we've had up to 6 out there. Inside, we have some windows in. We have some temporary enclosures. We have drywall going up. We have overhead mechanical work. You can see duct work. You can see electrical work. So we are proceeding in different phases. And we have the report. So that's one of the photos out of the drone. Speak anywhere you want to say something. Okay. I don't mean to hog the show. That was one of the pictures. We were successful in the south parking lot. That purple area will become the new front entrance. It'll be a beautiful green, or a beautiful masonry and steps and entrance. Anyway, that's part of the parking lot. We were able to get some curbs and stone down to have parking, utilize the new portion sub-base for construction. That's the part of the east-west connector. The transportation center's on the right. You can begin to see some of the buses. We still have to tie in to their road, the north road there, when it's a little further along. Okay, those were some of the same photos inside. Again, more photos. We did get the last of our slab on grade, the concrete poured. There's a picture on the right of the road and more interior masonry work ongoing. This is a view of inside one of the courtyards where we have masonry, we have metal panels, siding. There's several of those on the project. Some roof work. These guys are working on some roof wood blocking. There's just in words some of the things we've been doing. I think I've touched on all of those in progress and looking forward. A lot of the same things. We will begin some interior painting and some ceiling grid, and we're still on schedule for fall of '27. Financials, we had the original contract last month. You approved the Centennial Road reconstruction, so that bumped that up. Thank you for that. Still holding the same amount of changes. We do have a few submitted for approval. There have been 33 ASIs, so all in all, project's going very well, very minimal changes. Water sewer, the sewer's been brought over. They're still working on the water, as you know, going up and down 32. The reconstruction, the road, that got approved, so that work will start next April and finish in August of next year. And the intersection work, I know there's been meetings. Brian just told me that this drawing that I have here is already outdated. It's going to shift and be more aligned and centered. Any questions or anything you want to add, Brian?
Sure. I'd just add, things have gone very, very smoothly with Hagerman on this project. It's been pleasantly easy, I guess I would say. So everything's going great. I had the chance to go with Mr. Steele and Ms. Swan over fall break to walk through construction and see things coming together. So it's exciting to see some of that green paint on the walls. I don't know if that makes you guys excited or not. So yeah, it's going great. And then there was any concerns that we've had, Hagerman has been quick to address, and we had one concern with the mason on site, and Hagerman was all over it, and so really appreciate them being responsive and paying attention and bringing those things to our attention and then responding accordingly. So again, exciting to see it coming together.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to just add, with Stacy Swan going and everything else, walking through the building with her and you guys, it looks like it's coming along great. I love the classroom sharing, especially the science rooms, and everything else as far as that goes, with the overhead doors instead of just regular traditional doors, and bringing classrooms together and team teaching, stuff like that. So, and the cafeteria area looks almost like the high school, so when they go to the high school, there'll be a lot of easy transition for everybody. So, job well done on everybody who has their hands in this.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, Jerry from Performance Service.
Thank you, President Steele. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and Westfield Washington Schools Administration. I'm happy to be here this evening to really to present to you the scope, the schedule, and the cost for the second phase of our portion of the project for, of course, as you know, the transition of the intermediate school to an elementary school and the adjustments at the middle school to incorporate the sixth graders. So this is the order we'll talk about it tonight. I'll give you an overview of the elementary school design, then an overview of the middle school design. We'll talk about site design, quite a bit going on related to site adjustments. We'll talk about the schedule, discuss construction phasing, and finally we'll wrap up with project budget and cost summary. Feel free to ask questions along the way if there's anything that you'd like to hear about or learn a little more about as I give you an overview of all of this. This is not new information for you. You've seen this before. This is the arrangement for the transition to an elementary school for the current intermediate school building. The colors represent, the blue areas are areas that are being reconfigured. So we have really just a small portion of the building that has some reconfiguration. And then the classroom wings really work out great to be able to establish grade level communities. So I've talked about those in the past as being able to be communities that you can lock down and separate. There are doors already that kind of naturally create that for you. Where there's not doors, in one or two instances, we'll be adding them, but that really models well like the new elementary schools that are being developed. An important piece of this is, of course, the transition year. That's the year then when the school will transition to both a K through 5 elementary school and still retain the 6th graders for that 1 year until the middle school, the new middle school that you just heard about is completed. And so how are we going to accomplish that? This really shows you how the rooms will be divided up within the building. There's been some change to this since the last time you saw this diagram. 6th graders currently reside in the area that you see shaded there, the yellow shaded zone. The shaded areas represent the zones that would be utilized by the 6th grade. And so they will stay in their area of the building. And one of the reasons why we've made that adjustment is 6th graders will be on the middle school schedule. And they'll be arriving later than the elementary school. So the elementary school kiddos will be there earlier in the day and be already in their classrooms when they arrive. So this allows them to come in off of the bus parking lot, since they'll be arriving with the middle school students that are kind of across the driveway there at the current middle school, and come in off of the north and go directly into their classroom area without having to kind of migrate through the building. And there's less opportunity there for any disruption of education that might already be going on with the elementary school students. So I think that's a really nice improvement for the organization of it during that transition year. We talked about, and just wanted to show you a couple of enlargements. We talked about the secure learning communities, what those look like. And although we can't model the building like the new in terms of creating a commons that has some of those amenities, we do have the square footage. This is housing quite a bit more students than it will when it actually transitions fully to the elementary school. So that additional square footage really lends itself to provide support space that can be modeled like what's being provided in the new elementary schools. And this shows you that arrangement where we're able to dedicate project rooms and intervention space to support the grade level classes. We explored some solutions there where we might remove some parts and try to create common zones, but it really doesn't work the same way. You're not able to provide the correct adjacencies to be able to create that. And this is a good solution to be able to provide the same support structure that the new elementary schools will have. And this is, again, just another example of first, second grade learning communities. So you can see how that arrangement works. So each wing is modeled the same with the same grouping of classroom support. Just to talk about the classrooms a little bit, we're really modeling the classrooms like the new elementaries as well. So if you were to step in a classroom when it's completed, or to step in, for instance, one of the other two new elementary schools, I don't think you'll really be able to tell a big difference. The finishes in the building will be using standards that have been established that meet the kind of the branding standard that's been established, but also the material standards that have been established for the district, so that same palette. And the furniture in the room really is taking the place of any of the built-in equipment. So we're removing the fixed equipment in the building, replacing it with modular equipment, loose equipment that allows you that classroom flexibility that you desire to support your project-based and problem-based kind of classroom environment for that flexibility. And it's all going to be developed from the same palette that is being used in the new elementary schools. To show a little bit about progress, this is familiar to you already. This is the work that we currently have in progress, kind of taking away the roof there, showing you the new library media center and the categorical and mosaics classrooms that are in construction. The media center is nearing completion, and that is planned to be turned over after the end of the semester before they return for second semester this year. And then once that is turned over, then we'll move out of the current library media center and then begin converting the space for those special needs. And that's important because that space is needed to support the transition year. Those spaces will be used to support the special needs programs during the next school year. This is our artist rendition of that library media center. Call it a semi-open concept. It's open to the corridors, but separated from. Very similar to the concept of the new elementary schools. And this is an in-progress photograph that was taken last week. Again, rendering from a different vantage point in an in-progress shot. So similar, different vantage points of that progress. I think I've got one more here. Okay, an important piece of this also, this development, is there is a courtyard. This is, might be original or close to original to the building. Hasn't had any improvements done to it for quite some time. It is linked to the Library Media Center and adjacent to the categorical mosaics classrooms, and we really wanted to try to take advantage of this space to be able to create an outdoor environment that is protected and secure within the building. And are going to be converting that to a sensory garden that will be able to support the school in general, but also it's in a really good location for that adjacency for the categorical mosaics classrooms that have an opening that connects directly into that courtyard and can support some of the things that related to their occupational and physical therapy needs for those specific students. This is, I don't think we've shown this before, but we are planning improvements at the main entry to try to bring in some elements that are common in the district in terms of the finish palettes, the colors that are used at your other facilities. Of course, the shamrock green color and making sure that's at the right point, but some other accents that are used in your other buildings. And then one thing that the school is going to use a lantern, shining the light towards the growth of those students and showing them the way as they kind of move up through the school district, and introducing a light fixture and suspended element within the entry, and that's what you see there in that evening photograph, kind of illuminated within the entry point. One of the other things we'll be doing is there are some steel columns that are at the entryway. It might be a little bit difficult to see, especially with the light in here, but those are not wrapped in masonry. We plan on wrapping those in masonry. That's kind of a common element where you have wrapped masonry. It goes up to a certain elevation at the front of your buildings, and then that masonry stops, and you kind of have the floating roof kind of area above it where you just have the slender column that supports that. So we're emulating that here at this entry point as well, just trying to bring that commonality so you have consistency in that imagery as you enter your buildings. It's important with all the other branding elements, really that consistency, so that when you're in a Westfield Schools facility, you recognize it immediately because of the common palette that you have. Just some other renderings here. This is your cafeteria, and we're going to make some improvements and rebrand that space throughout the building. Really, there's very few spaces that are not being touched with the new finish palette and the rebranding of the school. Important, of course, to change and be the signature for the new elementary that it's going to become. Before and after school care, just another image. Okay, I'm going to transition now and talk a little bit about the middle school and what is happening to that facility. This is the this diagram reflects the use of the facility, but also where we have improvements planned. So the shading represents different levels of finishes. I do want to kind of zoom in there. There you go. To identify where the sixth graders are going to be placed. That is really where most of the work is concentrated in the facility in that portion of the building, because we are reconfiguring space to be able to support the 6th grade teams within that portion of the building. So there's quite a bit of reconfiguration of classrooms to get that reoriented properly for the 6th grade. The 7th and 8th graders then will reside on the eastern portion of the building and that block of classroom space. And within the 6th grade, that is a portion of that original building is where those pyramidal type roofs are situated, and there are HVAC units that are suspended within that portion of the building that are inaccessible. They cannot be maintained. So as a part of the project, we will be bringing those down to the ground and creating mechanical spaces that will allow you to maintain the equipment properly, and that equipment then services that 6th grade portion of the building. We're not doing a ton of reconfiguration in the building, but we are creating a space specifically geared for 6th grade, a common zone in their portion of the building, and that is it's an open instructional area located just off of the main corridor that provides access into the 6th grade core. Classrooms, much like I was talking about for the elementary school, there is new furniture planned for those spaces, again, to help model and follow the methodology for the learning environments throughout the district. And in the corridors, we are updating finishes in the corridors where it's needed. There's a fair amount of terrazzo, but where there's not terrazzo, we're replacing that terrazzo with new flooring, upgrading the wall finishes as well. Like the elementary school or the current intermediate school, we do have work in progress. We've been working on toilet room improvements. These are actually photos that I've shown here previously because we've completed that work for the time being as we await this next phase. But we've made toilet room improvements. We've also replaced a dishwasher and made domestic water, hot water improvements throughout the building, replacing the water heater and correcting some of the problems that you had with crossfeed actually with the water system where you weren't able to achieve hot water temperature throughout the building. Okay, let's transition over to site. As you know, this is just an aerial of the existing campus conditions. As you know, that site has had a lot of congestion. That will improve with the differing school periods during the day, in the morning and in the afternoon. Since they won't be on the same schedule, the traffic will improve. But with that, there are other things that we need to do to make those improvements, to support the new facilities, the change of the facilities to an elementary school, and to keep autos and buses separated from each other. So I'm not going to land on this photo or this slide for very long. Let's move on to enlargements where I can really focus on what those improvements are going to be. And I do want to point out there have been some adjustments made since the last time we presented site information to you, since we've had a chance to meet with Andy Hilton, being named the principal. We've made some adjustments that he would like to see made into the site organization, and have shifted the bus loading and unloading from the south side of the elementary to the west side, where it is more directly connected to the academic portion of the building. So especially for kindergarten students, they're able to go immediately into their classroom wing from the west bus parking area. And we also have removed the auto pickup and drop off that was shown at the north side, and that has been transitioned to a kindergarten playground. So it's going to be converted. And so the playground stays basically in the same area, but expands a little bit towards the east in that portion of the building. And there's really been a focus at creating some green space separation between the middle school and the elementary school. And a part of that strategy is stretching Shamrock Boulevard and the intersection that is right at that northeast corner of the elementary school stretching that intersection so that there are two separate intersections rather than one long intersection between those two buildings. And we're able to take advantage of separating those intersections and providing green space as a part of that separation. That will make it much easier for patrons as they enter and exit the property to understand where their stop and start points are, where their turns are, how stacking works, and then controlling the flow through the campus and for both of the facilities. I also want to mention that we have been talking with the Indiana Department of Transportation about the feasibility of a sound barrier along US 31. And what we have learned, it is feasible to develop that sound barrier, and we've incorporated that and will be incorporating a sound barrier on the west side of Westfield Elementary School between US 31 and the school, and it will extend essentially from about where the current pump house is south of the building towards the north and terminate somewhere between Westfield Middle School and Elementary School. It's not represented yet because we're just gotten started with the planning process of that, but it will be included and it is represented within the budget figures I'll present tonight. At the middle school, one of the major improvements that we're making is that we're going to be creating a new separate bus-only entry and exit point off of Hoover. And when we do that, we'll also be pushing the campus loop drive towards the west. And as a part of that, what that then allows us to do is develop some additional parking to the west of the middle school that then will give you more flexibility for meeting the needs of the event center and the middle school, and allow for the band practice area to be redeveloped in appropriately separated practice area that can be utilized while the other facilities are in use. So those three things kind of have to happen in tandem: middle school use, event center use, and band practice area. So we've met with the Performing Arts Department, the band group, and they like the development, the changes that we've made to support that, and have incorporated this into the design. Okay, let's talk about schedule.
Hey, Jerry.
Yes.
Just back up one time.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to note, because the Shamrock Boulevard can move to the west, we've worked that out, or you've worked that out with Marathon. That allows for more green space between the bus parking and Shamrock. So that parking lot that's going in west of the gyms, that green space there is actually being relocated in the green space kind of south and east of the middle school. So then the middle school will be able to utilize that outdoor space during PE time or whatever. And also, it's just more green space. It's I guess, made it more efficient.
That's absolutely right, yes. We were able to confirm with Marathon that they would allow us, they have some rules about passing over the gas pipeline easement. And typically they want you to cross at a 90-degree angle as much as possible, or at least as close as possible to that. And we're at a little bit of a different tangent there with the way the gas easement runs and crosses over US 31. But they looked at the use of the facility and have made an exception for how we're crossing at this, in this instance. Yes. It will be in the right-of-way. They are more effective the closer they are to the traffic, so really the strategy should be to get it as close to the road as possible. Yeah.
It will, the initial thought is there is one on the west side of the road, a little north or across from the high school, around North Glen Village, and so it will mirror that. So if you drive by that, but I was surprised how close it was to 31, to the highway. It's not like you see maybe on 465 where it's back. It'll be right up against the highway.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to schedule, just highlight some key schedule dates. Of course, we're meeting here tonight to approve the Phase 2 for construction. Some key dates, I already mentioned one, completing the Library Media Center at the elementary school or at the current intermediate school, to be elementary school. That happens here at the end of the year. We'll begin then working on the CAT Mosaics classrooms. And then the first piece of the second phase of work actually begins in the spring and over the spring break period. We really need to begin working on the elementary school playground adjustments over that period of time to make sure that we're completed by the start of the school year next year. So that work begins along with working on the roadway adjustments. So the existing road will stay in functioning, but we'll be building the new road on the far west side of your campus there along US 31 so that we can facilitate the bus entry improvements over the course of the summer. So I'll have some additional phasing plans that represents that here in just a moment. Then we'll begin the balance of the work over the course of the summer. The core classrooms for the elementary school that the K through 5 students will be using for the 26 school year, 26-27 school year, will be completed over the summer. So they'll all have renovated classrooms. They'll be equipped just like, you know, your new buildings, your new classrooms in your new elementary schools. And then the bulk of the projects then will be completed either over the course of the next year or that second summer, summer of 2027. And I have some phasing diagrams that really represent this in more detail. So here, just some simple block diagrams that show you the differing work and when that's occurring, summer of 2026, summer of 2027. As you know, since the intermediate school, elementary school is fully occupied, we have to do most of that work over the course of the summer. There's very little latitude to do work within the building during the school year. And then at the middle school, we have a little more flexibility at the middle school. We're able to and have already set the course for doing some phased work there by building some classroom space within the Library Media Center. And this then shows you how that phasing works within the sixth grade core. That's really where we need to focus our efforts during the school year, being able to develop those classrooms so that we can complete the project by the end of summer 2027. And then the site work can be a little tricky and complicated to get done, and there's a variety of different subphases within that in different colors. But the simple terms is the left diagram is work that happens more or less summer of 2026, and the right diagram is work that happens more or less during the summer of 2027. There will be some work going on, as I mentioned. There's the playground and west driveway work that's happening during the school year, and there's some other pieces that we can do, but most of it has to happen during summers where we don't disrupt the traffic flow that is out there currently. Okay, let's talk about and wrap things up with budget summary, and I don't know why that jumped the alignment of all those figures around for you a little bit. That's odd. But the bottom line is here, this package total, the actual portion of phase 2 came in at $44,699,130. We had estimated it at $55,127,000, so quite a bit below. So we're well within the budget of the total available funds. And if I go to the next slide here, and did the same thing for me on this, hopefully it looks better on your screens than it does up here. But we have $75 million of funds that are available that have been allocated for this project. We had estimated the project at $71 million, and the actual realized total of the project is $60,985,449. The barrier cost is in there. We have provided an allowance based on some preliminary estimating that we feel like is safe to be able to account for that. Yes, it is included. Yes, it is in the site cost, correct. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. What? Are there any other questions from the board or administrators?
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
And finally, Brian Kelly, Westfield Washington Schools Director of Construction, will update us on all the other projects.
Well said, Mr. President, finally. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. I'm going to be reporting on the construction projects for Garmong, which is Midland Crossing Elementary, and Shamrock Springs Elementary, and the construction projects that Myron Najum is working on, finishing up the transportation building, the operations building, and I'll briefly discuss the work that's being done for the water project, sanitary project, town road project, the kind of stuff that we don't see but is an integral part of the work they're doing. Garmong construction at Midland Crossing, obviously with winter months, construction moves indoors, so it's difficult to see as you drive by. For the past 3-4 months, watching the buildings come up out of the ground, it's exciting to see, and it's easy to see the progress. Now everything moves inside, but does not slow down at all. So at Midland Crossing, a lot of drywall work is going up. They're actually to the point where they're actually starting drywall finishing and painting, where the work permits. A lot of infrastructure work's taking place with the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contractors. So I'm seeing a lot of construction and a lot of progress for those 3 trades, and you can kind of see that in this picture. In addition to that, the major HVAC equipment is on site and being installed. So large central station air handlers, heat pump systems, pumping systems. So we're seeing a lot of work in the mechanical rooms, electrical rooms within that building at this time as well. Construction contingency utilization still doing very well at 16%, represents about $320,000 out of $1.9 million of construction contingency. Shamrock Springs Elementary School, about 4 months behind Midland Crossing. So as you can see, it's more the interior metal framing work that's being done there. They have started some drywall recently, and you can kind of see that in the picture on the right. In the back right corner there, you can see drywall going up and where the framing permits. But again, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing work is the primary work that's being done, to get all those infrastructure pieces in place, and completed.
Brian, when you say 4 months behind, you mean from it opening in
From opening of Midland
August,
Crossing, yes,
and
from
still on
August.
schedule for the redo of the schedule.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said on schedule for.
When is Shamrock going to open? When
Right,
are
well,
teachers
so we
moving
met
in?
yesterday, and they're shooting for the end of October. Now, I don't want to put that date out there as a guarantee. All along, they've been trying to improve the date, as you probably recall from
Work back
previous
to the
reports.
August date, yeah.
Yeah, we've been,
So,
previous
4
months I've
months from
reported
that,
probably
but-
closer into
yeah,
December.
okay.
We're improving that as we
Okay.
can. So our discussion the other day was potentially end of October. We met with the city, we met with the city's inspectors to kind of get them online with what our new timeline hopeful is. But again, that's hopeful.
Okay.
And then
Thank you.
back up to Midland Crossing, substantial completion and,
Right now, I hate to give
right, but
dates.
the target, right,
End of July.
Yeah.
We're talking July 20th
Yep.
is the date we're shooting for.
Yep.
And we'll kind of keep watching that date, as we get closer to it.
Yep.
But the end of July,
Nice.
we should be getting our certificate of occupancy for Midland Crossing.
thanks, Brian.
The picture on the left at Shamrock Springs, again, just a lot of the plumbing rough-in work that's being done. So as we get that completed, drywall can go up afterwards. Construction contingency on Shamrock Springs, currently holding at 10%, represents about $199,000 of the $1.9 million contingency. Transportation facility at Myron Agem is really at completion. The interior and exterior punch list was completed recently. The building's looking great, both inside and outside. Now it's completing that punch list work that the architect has identified. And you just kind of see, I took a picture of the reception area. It's a very impressive building to walk into if you haven't gone into it recently. It's going to be a fantastic facility. The exterior signage is being installed. All the finishes are complete. So this one, as we know, is waiting for water, right, as the water work continues. But again, the kitchen, the driver's kitchenette, the appliances are installed. It was a big day for the maintenance staff. At transportation, we brought a bus in and we let them put it up on the lift. This may not seem exciting to other people, but they were thrilled that they were able to do this.
And they currently have portable lifts.
Currently have portable lifts, so this will have a combination. This has the in-ground lift here, which is what you see here in this picture, and the other lifts will be portable. Yep. Sanitary main and the water line work is progressing well. The water line is currently installed to Eagletown, and they've also installed the two 30-inch water lines under Little Eagle Creek. That was a major, major undertaking. So that has all been completed. The paving for State Road 32 is about 95% complete. The top coat was recently applied. If you've been down 32 recently, it was restricted for the work to allow that water line to go in. That's all been done. The sanitary main, I think, is completely in place. We're waiting testing and approval from citizens on that. So a lot of the underground infrastructure work that is needed for transportation and for the middle school is progressing very well. Obviously, our permit work, or obtaining permits for that work, put us a little bit behind schedule, but we're trying to catch up with that as we can. Construction contingency for that project is at 44%, so being at the end of the project, I think we've done very well with this one. And that represents a $504,000 expenditure on a almost $2 million contingency budget.
And where is the list?
The operations facility, which is the existing transportation building. What you're seeing here is the storage warehouse building. That is kind of our priority to get that completed so that we can facilitate the move out of the existing facilities and support services building for our district storage. The roof was installed on that. The masonry brick work is nearing completion. It's along the bottom. Hard to tell in the picture on the left, but there is a brick band on the bottom portion of that building. Exterior wall panel installations nearing completion. So this building we expect to finish towards the end of February. And Dr. Hunt and I are working with the city as far as renewing the lease and revising the lease agreements so that we can stay into the current support services building until we can move into this. But we're working the details with the city right now. Construction contingency utilization on this is 0. We haven't had any change orders, so this portion of this project is going very well. And just a few more pictures from the interior of the new district storage building. Any questions on the projects for Garmong Construction and Myron Agum?
Looking good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening, and we look forward to seeing all these projects continue to take shape. Next up is a weekly check run approval for 2026 and Dr. Hunt.
Thank you, President Steele. This is not unfamiliar to this particular board. This has been happening the last 4 years, and this is just a procedure that we need to follow starting or before the beginning of the 2026 budget. This is a weekly check run. Checks are not issued that would exceed $50,000, but the reason that we do this within the department, number one, for efficiency purposes. We're able to get out timely payments. It also allows us to be a little bit more critical as far as reviews concerned with the smaller number of checks in the batch that we are able to review. This still would be presented to the board each month as part of the board docket, although the checks would have been issued. But anything over $50,000, of course, would not be issued until the board had approved those in the board docket at the monthly meeting. So this evening, I just wish that the board would approve the weekly check run for budget year 2026.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the continued use of weekly check runs for the payment of claims through December 31st, 2026, with the annual renewal to be requested during the budget cycle as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the continued use of the weekly check runs for the payment of claims through December 31st, 2026, with the annual renewal to be requested during the budget cycle. Is there any discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion is passed. For the final item on the business and operation portion of the agenda, approval of bids for the Westfield Intermediate School and Westfield Middle School project, we return to Dr. Hunt.
Thank you again, President Steele. This evening, before you, in your board packet, you are going to see a couple of items. There is a letter from the Rawlings Group, which I will refer to in just a moment, as well as contract price amendment 2 for both the building corps, and I will get to that as well in just a moment. But you had heard PSI's presentation and all the work that is going to be done at the current intermediate school, which would be the obviously future elementary school as well as the middle school. But part of this process in the design build is we need to get a review that is done, or we have to use step 1. So in this particular process, again, we've used Rawlings Group in the past, and again, before you will see the letter from Rawlings Group that has reviewed step 1, phase 2 of the progressive design build report for Destination Westfield work at Westfield Elementary School as well as Westfield Middle School, prepared by Performance Services and dated December 9, 2025. The review determined the following. In the report, it meets the requirements of the original request for proposal, aligns with the owner's project criteria, and defines the scope, project recommendations necessary to advance the phase 2 work into step 2 progressive design build services. Also, as part of Mr. Rawlings' package, you will also see the financial summary. One of the things that I do want to mention in this is because we have 2 separate building corps that are associated with these projects. I know it's kind of funny and it sounds funny, but those projects have to be associated with the building corps, and so that you will see that as part of your financial summary. So the recommendation from Rawlings Group would be number 1, that the board approve the step 1 phase 2 progressive design build report for the remaining Destination Westfield work dated December 9, 2025, is again by Performance Services. That the board approve number 2 recommendation, approve the execution of contract price amendment number 2 for the work that's associated with the Westfield High School 1995 Building Corporation in the amount of $13,120,858 for a total contract price of $21,774,905. And then recommendation number 3 is to approve the execution of the contract price amendment number 2 for the work that's associated with the Westfield Multi-School Building Corp. In the amount of $31,578,271, and again establishing a contract price of $39,210,544 for a total, again, like PSI had mentioned, total contract summary of both projects in its entirety of $60,985,449. So at this time, the administration recommends that the School Board of Trustees approve Step 1 Progressive Design Build Report as part of the second incremental phase and execute corresponding contract price amendments as presented.
Very good. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve Step 1 Progressive Design Build Report as part of the second increment phase and execute corresponding contract price amendments as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and second to approve the one-step progress as presented. Any discussions? No questions? Hearing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Dr. Hunt. We will now transition to the human resources part of the agenda for the first reading of the teacher handbook and Dr. Chris Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I bring to you for a first reading the WS Teacher Handbook, which is an agreement between the Westfield Classroom Teachers Association and also the Board of Trustees and the WS administration. Just background, this document clearly defines the working conditions and expectations for the bargaining unit members. Most of this is language that is no longer allowed to be in our master contract. Master contract is just based on pay and benefits. So this is an area that those working conditions are listed in an agreement through discussion with the Westfield Classroom Teachers Association. Just so you know, this is not a new document. This has existed for quite a long time. We constantly meet and review this, but we just, in collaboration and in cooperation with WCTA, we all believe that this is important, that it is approved by the board as board policy, that you guys have a look at this document and make sure you're aware of what's in the document. We'll continue to adapt this through discussion and bring this to you annually for approval. Again, thanks to many of the members that have stayed throughout the meeting here from WCTA, a big part of the discussion team that has input in this document. Again, this is just a first reading. Please let me know after reviewing if you have any questions, and I can clarify or make any changes if necessary as you share with me and I share with WCTA. But before now in January, please just let me know if you have any questions as you review the document. And then we'll bring it back in January for the second reading and hopefully adoption by you all as the school board.
Very good. I do want to thank all the teachers in the union with all their help on this and everything else, and thank you for staying so long on the meeting and everything else. But I think you guys see a lot of good building going on and everything else.
Just the connection I want to add is just like we've adopted heard the long-range master plan because the legislative changes and we want to get out in front of it. This handbook is a similar thing with our collaboration with our teachers, right? Us trying to control as they make changes, how we're going to work together and so forth. So I just want to compliment Dr. Baldwin going through negotiations this year. He does know backwards and forwards many of the historical aspects and keeps his line.
That's what I was going to go.
But then, I say it, but I don't say it enough. We have the best teachers, hands down, and so I just want to thank our teachers for their willingness to collaborate and to work with us and to look out for the best interest not only of the corporation but our students and our families.
Yeah, and to back that up, I mean, with Greg coming on and having the monies available, and Chris with his HR stuff, and Dr. Atha and everything else, these guys have done a great job, along with the union. I got to sit in on negotiations there and everything else. I think you guys work great together. You never get paid enough as it is, and we know that, but we try to give you everything we can, and everything else as far as the contract goes. So we, as the board, appreciate that and everything else. There is no action being taken on this item this evening. It will be brought back to us in January for a second reading. So I want to thank everybody. Next is another one of the favorite part of the meetings, success stories from across the district. I'd like to invite the board members and superintendents to share the highlights of the past month.
The football team made it to the championship game at Lucas Oil. It was very exciting. We might not have won, but they played well, and I'm very proud of all of them. So yeah, that's my big success, especially that O-line.
I wanted to give a special shout out to the WYSI travel team and also recognize Bobby Moran, who served that group of 5th, 6th travel football players for the last 7 years. He's been a great asset to our community. And I wanted to give a shout out also to the whole team. They made it to Rocky Top final game, which is a huge tournament for that group. And they lost in the final game, but they made it. And then the 3 Westfield High School alumni have come back to coach. Seth Martin, Mason Peening, and my oldest son, Owen Ogle. So appreciate our alumni that give back to the kids. And final item for WYSI and also our students, they're having a Winterfest. I think we're going to try to get information out to families, but it's on January 10th. It's free to the community, but they want you to RSVP so that they make sure they have enough food. So watch for QR codes, check out their Facebook page, etc. Thank you.
Along the lines of the football game, which was a lot of fun to go to, our player, Cash Ballard, won the Philip Eskew Mental Attitude Award, which is fantastic. We've actually got a couple of those here in Westfield, so that was a tremendous accomplishment.
Yeah, he did a great job. You don't know that, and then at the end of the game, it's a tough situation. They put that microphone in front of you, but again, our kids continue to perform very well in that setting, both on the field, in the classroom, and all over. Thank you to our teachers for that and for our great parents and families, but that was awesome.
Yeah, big honor.
I'm going to do a little shout out here in the audience is Tipton County Commissioner Tracy Powell. Tracy, wave. You said probably wondering, Tracy is running for State Senate District 21. Is that correct? Did he get that right? So he just wanted to stop by and check in, which would represent us, represent Westfield. So Tracy wanted to visit a school board meeting. So introduce yourself to Tracy, and if you have anything you want to share with him, I'm sure he'd be all ears. Thanks, Tracy.
Oh, 2 more things to note. So next week, the Westfield Education Foundation is hosting Bourbon and Bling at Moyer. So Tuesday, 6 p.m. And then also we have opened Top Golf. So sign up for sponsorship or to just bring your family March 1st.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's fast.
Gentlemen, anything else?
Well, I guess we should mention that this is the last meeting before winter break, so just wish everybody a great break. Finish strong here over the next week and a half, and then have a great 2 weeks off.
Yep, and hopefully if we get enough snow, like we had a little bit, you can get a lot of sledding in over the Christmas break. So, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Our next regular board meeting will be held January 20th at 6:30 here in this room. The public is also invited to attend a special joint meeting between the Westfield City Council and the Westfield Washington School Board of Trustees on January 7th at 6 p.m. in the Westfield High School Auditorium. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second? Thank you.
I
Thank you,
do want to
everybody.
note that January meeting is the third Tuesday of the month, just as we close out the year. That